Assalamu alaikum. At last, I'm here, by the will of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, with part 2 of Millat Ibraheem Hanifa, translated from the Egyptian Sheikh Muhammad Jamil Ghazi. Allah yarhamu. I refer you back to the previous lesson, part 1, but now I'm going to add something I think is useful. The Sheikh said in the beginning, if you want to refer to what he's talking about regarding Ibrahim, you will start with Surah Al-Baqarah, verse 130, then Al-Imran, verse 75, again Al-Imran, verse 125, Surah Yusuf, verses 37 and 38, Surah Nahl, verse 123, Surah Al-Hajj, verse 87. All of these are referring to Millat Ibrahim. Each one has a special focus, yet many modern scholars use ijtihad, which means their independent reasoning. And of course, these scholars don't realize, or maybe don't choose to, let's say, limit themselves, that Allah is very clear. So for this reason, I recited in the previous part 1 from Surah Baqarah, verse 135, and that is where I stopped. Now, today for lesson 2, we will begin by translating from the Sheikh, who denies that regarding Surah Baqarah, except the safeeh. Safeeh is a special name for Yahud. Yahud are those who know well, stubbornly reject, and put barriers for others to walk on the straight path. That's why I don't say the J word. I always say Yahud, because it's clear, isn't it? What Allah says is clear. But there are other reasons why people say the J word, and the Sheikh is going to bring this forward right here in this lesson. The safeeh, or you could say plural, the sufaha, min an-nas, of the people, say, ma walahum an qiblati allati kunt alayh. So now we're getting back to another lesson that I had done much earlier about changing the qibla from Jerusalem, Al-Quds, to Mecca in Saudi Arabia. Now, if you don't have that background, you should go back and find my lesson about that, because it's a very important lesson. And when this happened in Surah Al-Baqarah 4 times, Allah tells you what's going on here. He's saying these people, these sufaha, who continually question, why was the qibla changed? Ma walahum, what's wrong with them? The Sheikh says they're cursed by Allah. Why? Because وَمَنْ يَرْغَبُ عَنْ مِلَّةِ Ibrahim, who desires something other than the millat of Ibrahim, meaning the one way that Allah has determined is going to be called Islam. It began with Adam, yes it did, but then Millat Ibrahim is what we're talking about in this series of lessons that I'm going to translate for you. Man yarghab an, it means to refuse. Now there's another phraseology, don't be confused. It's called yarghab fi. Yarghab fi means you like it. Yarghab an means you don't like it. So when Allah uses words, he's very careful and precise. Now the Sheikh will elaborate and elucidate for us. What does this mean to be safeeh? You can be safeeh with money. Allah says in the Quran, don't give the safeeh your money. after he's already going to tell you that these safeeh are the Yahud. Don't give the sufahah your money. Well, right here, if you're going to try to concentrate on what this means, tadabbur, just don't read it, but think about what this means. It coincides exactly with riba, interest. Who made that one up? Oh, the sufahah. Do you know that they, the sufahah, the Yahud, don't take interest from each other? They'll take it from you, though. They'll take it from anyone who needs a loan, car loan, house loan. You remember Shakespeare's play Shylock, who he was, the pound of flesh? I'm talking to Americans. You all studied this in high school, right? So I don't want to elaborate on that. You know enough about what that means. I'm talking about what the sheikh says, but I'm going to intersperse what the sheikh says with what I know as an American, ex-quote-unquote Catholic, which I never really believed in, but I have all the info about them. So, should I have been sad when my dad didn't let me go to Harvard and I ended up by default in Brandeis University? No. That was to get more in-depth knowledge. You see, Allah says in the Quran, Asa an yakunu, asa an yuhibbu shay'an, you will love something, وَهُوَ شَرٌ لَكُمْ, it's bad for you. وَأَسَا أَن يَكْرَهُ شَيْئًا, and you can hate something, وَهُوَ خَيْرٌ لَكُمْ, and it's good for you. Allahu ya'lam wa antum la ta'lamun. Allah knows, but you don't know, you see. That's why you always have to be in a state of Islam. Submit. Submit to what's happening to you, even though you might hate it or you don't understand it. If Allah decreed it, it's good, because Allah says He only decrees good. Biyadi al-khayr. Do I transgress? No. It's completely related to the rest of this lesson. Just be patient with me, because I can't help but give little anecdotal additions as long as they're going along with the main flow of Millat Ibraheem. So now, we have, after the interest subject, there's something called jahiliyyah. Now, you have studied this. If you know anything about Islam, it means the days of ignorance. But Sheikh will be more precise, and he will tell you that there are 3 types of jaahil. The first one, the simple one. The second one is more compound. Then we have the third one. So let's go over what the expert says, Sheikh Jamil Ghazi, Allah Yahamahu. The simple one is, you're jaahil and you know you are jaahil. You don't pretend. Wouldn't you say that might be the majority of people, of Muslims? Simple. I'm ignorant. I don't know much about my religion. The second one is the compound. It's called a jaahil murakkab. You know you're jaahil. You know you are. That's better, because if you're one of these, you can be cured through knowledge. He says most today are of this type. And the third one is the jaahil who thinks you know. So this would be the worst, because if you are truly jaahil and you think you know, then the safeeh, Sheikh says, and the jaahil, murakkab, are one and the same. You defend your ignorance. When Allah told Ibrahim, Aslim, submit, He said, Aslamtu li Rabbil Alameen. Immediately, Ibrahim submitted to Allah's command. There is only one Islam. And that was the meaning of, I submit to the Rabbil Alameen, the Lord of the worlds. Now, instead of submitting, the Sheikh will become very detailed here. Those who don't submit name themselves different names. Nasara, Yahud. We don't say that we are Qurayshiyun, after a tribe or a group of people like they do. And we don't say we are Muhammadun or Mekkiyun like they do. They will say, some of them, we are Masihiyun. They say Yahud from the word Yahuda. Yahuda, not with a del, with a zain. Allah named everybody Muslims. Everyone who accepts prophecy and submits are called Muslim. Now, who is better to describe anything than Allah, who created everything? You see, they say not the word Allah. They don't say Allah's words. So when they're referred to in the Quran, Allah says, وَمِنَ الَّذِينَ قَالُوا, of those who say. Did Ibrahim ever say, I am a Yahudi, or I am a Nasrani? The Yahud say, Ibrahim is minna, he is of us. The Nasara say the same thing. The Nasrani say, huwa minna, he is of us. Even the mushrikun in Mecca say, he is of us. Now, listen carefully to this. I never heard this. They even made a statue of Ibrahim, and they put it in the Kaaba, and it was a statue of him gambling. Istaqsamu bil azlam. You know, making, the way they used to istaqsimu bi azlam, they would have like 5 sticks. My dad used to do this with us. Who's going to go get ice cream today? And he'd make 5, and one was long, one was medium, one was short, and then you'd pick one of those sticks. Istaqsimu bi azlam. They made a statue of Ibrahim and put it in the Kaaba of Ibrahim doing this. That's what Sheikh says. Allah says in the Quran that Ibrahim was not a Yahud and he was not of the Mushrikeen. He was Hanifan Musliman. Now I want to stop here to help you with this word Hanifan. My road in Egypt was very complicated and very difficult because my ear would hear something and then I would get all wound up in the letters. That's why I'm still concentrating on the meanings of the words and the letters. In Egypt, you had a faucet, and it usually had 2, whatever they call them, hot and cold. It maybe had that flippy up and down, but no, that's a new one that we recently got, maybe 20 years ago. Usually you have the hot and cold, and then you have this faucet that comes up and down. It looks like a little J, upside down J. And they would call that the Hanafiya. What? So when I first came in Egypt and I was learning the word Hanafiya for the kitchen faucet and the bathroom taps, we would call it, on the bath or on the shower, I had both. I thought, why did they call that Hanifa when there's a madhab of the Hanafiya? These are the early days when I was just learning. Well, I decided to get my Maqayis ibn Faris, the best dictionary you can ever invest in, the oldest and the best. Sheikh Fauzi made sure I got it. They didn't sell it to the common folks. Only the shiyukh could get access to it. And one day I asked him the meaning of qibti. I didn't often sit with him. No. This was not an everyday, maybe once a month. And he just went over to his bookshelf and he took out Maqayis ibn Faris and he gave it to me. He said, look it up. That's a whole nother lesson I should make according to that. But let's get back to the Hanifa. After I had access to my 5-volume series of Maqayis ibn Faris, I had it at home at my desk, and I would often look up meanings of words. Way above my pay grade, but I just wanted to do it, and I did it. And I found out that the essential meaning of Hanaf, is to make something go to one direction. To gather from various, and we would say the right and left of the faucets, and to bring it all together and up and out. That's why they called it Hanafiya. So bring the good things together, join them, and let them come up and then out. Now, when I read that explanation from that oldest dictionary, 600 years older than Lisan al-Arab, I immediately understood it and said, yeah, that's just what a faucet does. So immediately I become more in love with Arabic, because this is what happens. Once you get on the Arabic train, there's no getting off. There's no stopping. You are just headed towards the destination. I prefer to think it's heaven. Yes, Arabic will open the doors to paradise for you. Because as my first sheikh, the black man from Ghana, said to me, you have to learn Arabic. And I resisted. And I said, I don't want to. I'm tired of studying. I already know enough. And he pushed me and pressured me to learn Arabic. And I kept saying, no, I'm too old. I'm tired. This PhD almost killed me. And he kept pressuring me. And I said, listen, why do I have to do it? And he said, so no one can lie to you. And I said, what do you mean no one can lie to me? I'll just go and ask the shuyukh. And I'm going to show you exactly what he did. He was such a quiet man. He hardly ever spoke. And he did this. Just like that. And I thought, uh-oh. He's saying something with just a gesture. A mere, Then I found out later about the story of the shuyukh and how they are afraid of the authorities and how most of them absolutely will not speak the truth because they're probably going to go to prison under the ground. Not a lot has changed, has it? So, what does that mean? I'm going to have to stop at 20 minutes. I'll give you this in the next lesson. I promise I'll do it today, too. I'm going to give you another one. This thing about not a lot has changed. Guess who died in prison? Sheikh al-Islam, Ibn Taymiyyah. The best of the best of the best. Because he wouldn't say what everyone else said. And the other shuyukh were jealous of him. Look up Ibn Taymiyyah, and if you know Arabic, try to read about him and read from him. You can start with the 38 volumes of his Fatawi, where he differed. Well, doesn't Allah say in Quran most people don't believe? Did he say in parentheses, except the scholars? No, he didn't say that. So that's some food for thought for you, okay? Who else died in prison? Imam Ahmad ibn Hanbal. We call it the Hanbali of the 4, the madahib. The first one was Imam Malik. and then Abu Hanifa, and then Imam Shafi'i, and then Imam Ahmad ibn Hanbal. It's very confusing because they sometimes will not call him Imam Ahmad. They will call him Ibn Hanbal. There's a lot of confusion in studying Islam, and that's why I focus on the converts, English, because I guess Allah decided that I was going to walk the hard road first and then come and help you with the basics, inshallah. Al-awwaliyat, the basics. Al-awwal, inshallah. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.